I think I broke the scariest mirror in history. It was just a normal day in 1979 when Lentine Waterlot went into her attic to grab some decorations for her yard sale. She was moving into a smaller place because her children had grown up and left her nest. While looking around the attic, she came across an old trunk and decided to take it to the yard sale. A woman who had seen the mirror before offered her $100, and Leonie sold it. However, after the woman put it in her car and took off, Leonie regretted her decision. Not only did she feel as if she had just given away a family heirloom, but she had also heard stories about the mirror's dark past. You see, everyone in town knew about the Hayes mirror. The mirror had been owned by the Hayes family for several generations. When they had finally agreed to part ways with it, they warned people not to buy it. They said that anyone who did would be inviting evil into their lives. Most people didn't listen and bought the mirror anyway. But those who did heed the warning remained childless. Some died in freak accidents. Others simply vanished without a trace. One day, a new family moved into the area and saw the mirror at their new neighbor's house. They asked if they could purchase the mirror, but the neighbor refused. The family, however, had already fallen in love with the mirror, so they begged the owner until she finally gave in. The new owners took the mirror home and hung it in their living room, but they soon wished they had listened to the warnings. Every night, they could hear whispers coming from the mirror. Sometimes they even saw shadows moving in its depths. One day, their son was playing near the mirror and accidentally knocked it over. The glass shattered, releasing the evil spirit trapped within. Their son disappeared without a trace, and the parents never saw him again. So when Lentine found out the mirror was going to be sold again, she tried to warn the new buyer. Maybe she should have tried harder, because she couldn't have imagined the horror that would unfold next. Let's find out. Helen stared at the mirror in disbelief. She couldn't believe that someone would sell such a haunted object. Suddenly, she felt a cold breeze on her neck and turned around. No one was in the room. Helen dismissed it as nerves and brought the mirror downstairs. But that's when things started getting weird. First, she couldn't find her keys anywhere. Then the lights flickered ominously. Finally, she swore she saw a ghostly figure standing behind her. Helen tried to convince herself that none of this was real, but it was getting scarier by the second. She wanted to throw the mirror out, but when she turned around, it was gone. Now, Helen had always been skeptical of ghosts, but after this experience, she was starting to think maybe there was more to the world than she knew. That's when Helen decided to reach out to paranormal investigators Brian and Wendy Freeman. Brian and Wendy were excited to take on a new case, but they had no idea what they were getting themselves into. As soon as they stepped into Helen's house, they could feel the negative energy. They followed Helen into the room where the mirror had been standing and started their investigation. First, they used a thermal camera to detect any sudden drops in temperature, which can often indicate the presence of a ghost. Sure enough, the room was freezing. They then brought in a medium to try to communicate with the ghost. "Is there anyone here who wants to talk to us?" the medium asked. Silence. But then a whisper seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. "He's trapped," the medium gasped. "Who is trapped?" The answer never came. As the night wore on, the paranormal team investigated further. They discovered scratches on the floorboards, as if someone or something had been trying to claw their way free. They also found strange symbols carved into the woodwork, symbols that seemed to be from another world. Finally, they uncovered a hidden compartment in the wall where they found an old diary. As Wendy read the entries aloud, a horrifying picture emerged. The diary belonged to a young girl named Elizabeth, who lived in the house over 100 years ago. And it detailed her growing terror as she realized that her father was using her as a sacrifice to a dark entity trapped in the mirror. The final entry told of how Elizabeth's father had lured her younger sister into the room, how he had held her down while the mirror consumed her. And then he had turned on Elizabeth, but she had managed to escape, hiding in the attic for weeks until she died of starvation. By now, the team knew that they were dealing with something evil, something that had taken several lives. They had to destroy the mirror. But how? They tried everything: fire, water, even holy water, but nothing worked. The mirror just kept reflecting their horrified faces back at them. Just when they thought all hope was lost, Brian remembered something he had read in Elizabeth's diary. To break the mirror's power, they needed to find the key to the hidden compartment where they had found it. But the key was nowhere to be found. After searching the house for hours, they finally found a small keyhole hidden behind a loose floorboard in the attic. Could this be the key to breaking the mirror's power? Carefully, Brian inserted the key and turned it. A secret passage opened up behind the bookshelf, leading down a dark staircase. At the bottom, they found a small box containing a key that looked ancient. They raced downstairs and used it to unlock the hidden compartment. Inside, they found an old book bound in human skin. And as Wendy opened it, she saw that each page contained a ritual designed to summon 4 different demons. But there was one ritual that caught her eye. It was a ritual to banish a demon back to hell. If this worked, it would mean they could destroy the mirror and finally free Elizabeth's sister from her watery grave. Following the instructions in the book, they gathered the necessary items. Then, holding hands in a circle, they began to chant. The room grew colder and the mirror began to shake as if something inside were struggling to break free. Suddenly, the mirror exploded into 1,000 pieces, releasing a blinding white light. The room filled with the smell of sulfur and the demonic laughter echoed through the house. Then, just as suddenly, it stopped. Outside, the sky cleared and the sun shone brightly. The battle was over. The team cautiously approached the broken mirror and saw a faint glow emanating from the shards. As they watched, the glow grew brighter and brighter until it was blinding. Then, with a final flash, it was gone. When Helen returned to the room, she found the mirror shards gone, and in their place a single white rose. The paranormal team had won, but they knew that evil never truly stays dead. They had sealed the rift in hell, but that didn't mean other demons wouldn't try to slip through. For now, though, they could take a moment to celebrate their victory. They had saved Helen's house and perhaps the world itself from the clutches of hell. But what do you think? Do you believe in mirrors that reflect the souls of those who have passed on? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm gonna tell you about a time that my mom broke a mirror. I was about 8 years old and we had just moved into our new house. It was a beautiful old Victorian with lots of nooks and crannies. My mom was exploring the attic and found an antique mirror that she loved. She hung it in her bedroom, and we were all admiring it when my brother came running into the room. He was known for being clumsy and tripped and crashed right into the mirror. Of course, it fell off the wall and shattered on the floor. Mom was furious, not because of the mirror, but because she thought I had put it too high on the wall and that's why he had hit it. We spent the rest of the day picking up the shards, and my dad even had to come home early from work to help us. I remember standing in the middle of all the mess and feeling really bad because I had known the mirror was dangerous. My dad had said so many times that it was old and the wood was rotten. But I didn't tell my mom. because I wanted her to feel special having this beautiful mirror in her room. Looking back on it now, I realize that I shouldn't have lied to her, but I was just a kid and I didn't know any better. And even though it was a very bad experience at the time, it taught me an important lesson about honesty. Now it's your turn. Tell me about a time that you broke a mirror. And if you liked the scary mirror story, make sure to check out these other videos. I think you'll really enjoy them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.